If you've made it this far, thank you for being part of Emily and Zane's unforgettable journey. We'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you won't miss tomorrow's special episode. Trust me, it's a twist you don't want to miss. See you in the next chapter. From enemies to soulmates, the arranged marriage that changed everything. Emily Cruz was just a small-town mechanic with grease-stained hands and a heart hardened by life. At 25, she had no interest in love, let alone men in flashy cars. That morning, the Texas sun was blazing, and Emily had just finished changing a stranger's flat tire on the side of a dusty two-lane highway. She was crossing the street back to her old Jeep when it happened. A sleek, black sports car, roaring down the road like it owned the asphalt, screeched to a stop just inches from her. "Seriously," she yelled, slamming her hand on the hood. "You didn't see me? The road is wide, and I'm not exactly invisible." The driver didn't respond. That made it worse. Without a second thought, Emily grabbed a wrench from her toolbox, marched over, and, crack, shattered the windshield. The car alarm went off, echoing into the hills. Only then did the driver step out, sunglasses still on, suit perfectly pressed. He was tall, maybe 6 feet, hair neatly styled, clearly not from around here. "What the hell is your problem?" he snapped. "Do you have any idea how much that damage will cost?" Emily froze. She wasn't expecting him to look like that. He was handsome in a city boy kind of way, but his arrogance ruined it all. Without answering, she turned on her heel and sprinted back to her Jeep. "Hey! I'm talking to you," he shouted, now following her. But it was too late. Emily had already started the engine and drove off, leaving behind a trail of dust and a man boiling with rage. "I'll find you," he muttered, sliding back into his car. "You're not getting away that easy." What neither of them knew was that fate had other plans. Just 48 hours later, Emily was sitting in her grandfather's mansion in California, still grieving the loss of her father, when her life twisted in the most unbelievable way. She was introduced to a business couple, old friends of her grandfather, and their son. None other than Zane Montgomery. The same arrogant man whose windshield she had shattered. They locked eyes. Recognition sparked, then horror followed. Both of them wanted to scream no, but what came next left them speechless. "We're here to begin wedding arrangements," Zane's mother smiled. "You two are getting married." Silence fell. "Married?" they both said in unison. Emily couldn't believe it. Zane looked like he wanted to vanish. But it was true. Years ago, their families had arranged a merger, one sealed by marriage. Neither had a choice, unless they wanted to risk losing everything their parents and grandparents built. Two people who couldn't stand each other, now being forced into a future together. It was insane. But little did they know, it was only the beginning. Emily thought things couldn't get any worse after being forced into an arranged marriage with Zane Montgomery, the cocky, smooth-talking man she could barely stand. But life, as always, had other plans. 2 days after the shocking dinner announcement at her grandfather's mansion, Emily's phone rang. The name on the screen made her heart drop: Cherry, her best friend, and a nurse at the local hospital back home. You need to come back," Cherry said, her voice trembling. "It's your dad. He didn't make it." Everything around Emily stopped. Her breath caught in her throat as tears blurred her vision. She dropped the phone, grabbed her keys, and drove non-stop for over 300 miles back to her small Texas hometown. By the time she got there, it was too late. She missed her father's last breath by minutes. Standing in that cold hospital room, the machines quiet, the bed still warm, Emily collapsed to the floor. Her knees hit the tile hard, but she didn't feel it. All she could do was scream, cry, and beg for just one more moment. One more hug. One more chance. He was gone. The funeral was held behind the family's small auto shop, the one her father built from the ground up, and the only home she had ever known. Friends and neighbors came to pay respects, but Emily was numb. She sat beside the casket for hours, staring, silent, broken. Bills piled up fast. Hospital debt, mortgage, shop expenses. Alone, with no family left, and barely any money, Emily had no choice. She sold the shop. Her heart shattered as she handed over the keys to a stranger. That night, she returned to the grave, sat in the dirt, and whispered, "What now, Dad? What do I do without you?" The wind didn't answer. But someone else did. "I've been looking for you, Emily." She turned, startled. An older man stood behind her, dressed in a dark overcoat and a gray fedora. His voice was calm but firm. "I'm Anderson Cruz. Your grandfather. On your mother's side." Emily's jaw dropped. Her mother had never spoken of him. He hadn't even shown up when she passed away. "Why now?" she asked, full of grief and fury. "Where were you when she died?" "When he died? I made mistakes," he said. "But I'm here now. And I'd like to make it right." He handed her a handkerchief and extended a wrinkled hand. "Come with me, Emily. Let me take care of you." With nothing left to lose, she took it. Within 48 hours, she was in California again, not just grieving, but now living under the same roof as her infuriating fiancé, Zane. The mansion felt cold. Too big. Too fancy. Too far from everything she knew. And yet, deep down, a small voice whispered that maybe, just maybe, her story was only getting started. Living in a 5,000-square-foot mansion should have felt like a dream. But for Emily, it was a constant reminder that nothing in her life was in her control. She missed her dad, the greasy scent of the auto shop, the familiar buzz of the garage radio. Now, she woke up in Egyptian cotton sheets, surrounded by marble floors and quiet halls, and worse, by Zane Montgomery. The same man who almost ran her over. The same man who now shared a dinner table with her every night. And the same man she was supposed to marry in 6 weeks. They didn't speak much. When they did, it was mostly sarcasm, eye rolls, or passive-aggressive comments that made her blood boil. Zane was always in designer clothes, sipping overpriced coffee, and scrolling through his phone like nothing else mattered. But things started to shift. One morning, Emily walked into the kitchen and found Zane trying to bake cupcakes, a complete disaster. Flour was everywhere. The oven timer beeped wildly. His shirt had batter stains. He looked up, embarrassed. "Don't judge me. I watched one YouTube video." She laughed. Actually laughed. That night, he left a small box outside her door. Inside was a gold bracelet with her name engraved, not flashy, just simple and thoughtful. She told herself not to smile. But she did. Then came the promise ring. He didn't make a speech. He didn't get on one knee. He just slipped it onto her finger during a quiet moment on the balcony, where the ocean breeze hit just right. "I'm not saying we're in love," he murmured. "I'm saying we have a choice to either make this hell or make it real. I don't want to fight forever." Neither did she. Against her will, Emily found herself drawn to him. Maybe it was the way he always smelled like cedarwood and mint. Maybe it was how he listened, actually listened, when she talked about her dad. Or maybe it was the time he tied her shoelace without saying a word, just so she wouldn't trip. Whatever it was, she was falling, slowly, stupidly, and completely. But the fear never left her. "People like him don't stay," she told her best friend Cherry over the phone. "They charm, they chase, and then they walk away." Or maybe, Cherry replied, "He's already walked through fire just to stay." Emily wasn't sure what scared her more, marrying someone she once hated. Or realizing she didn't hate him anymore. And just when things were starting to feel real, the voice inside her whispered a cruel reminder: "Don't forget why you're here. Don't forget the plan." Because no matter how her heart felt, her head still remembered, this marriage was arranged. It could be unarranged, if she played her cards right. But how do you destroy something, when it's finally starting to feel like home? Emily told herself it was just a ring. Just a bracelet. Just moments. But late at night, lying in a bed far too soft, she'd find herself turning that promise ring around her finger, over and over, as if it could answer the question she was too scared to ask: what if I don't want to stop the wedding anymore? And yet, the plan was already in motion. Weeks ago, in a haze of grief and panic, Emily had reached out to a woman named Harper, a mysterious client whose flat tire she'd once helped fix. Emily didn't know much about her, only that she offered help in exchange for favors. The plan was simple: stage a scandal, record it, and use it to convince her grandfather the engagement was doomed. But now, with each smile from Zane, each quiet laugh they shared on the balcony, the plan started to feel like a knife pressed against her own heart. Still, she didn't call it off. Maybe he'll mess up, she thought. Maybe I won't have to. Then her birthday arrived. Don Anderson, her grandfather, threw her a grand celebration. Strings of fairy lights sparkled across the mansion lawn, a live pianist played her favorite jazz tunes, and Zane, stunning in a tailored gray suit, greeted her with red roses and cupcakes he baked himself. 3. Just 3 cupcakes. Because I panicked, he said sheepishly. It was stupid. Sweet. Honest. It made her want to cry. But the camera was already set. Harper, dressed in a slinky red dress, waited upstairs in the library, the place where Zane's gift for Emily had been delivered. She was supposed to lure him in, get him close, make it look convincing. Emily had told herself she wouldn't go through with it. But she didn't stop it, either. Halfway through the party, her eyes caught Harper sneaking away, and suddenly, Emily couldn't breathe. She abandoned the ballroom and raced upstairs, her heels pounding against the marble floor. When she burst into the library, it was too late. Zane was already holding Harper against the wall, not in passion, but in pure fury. What the hell is going on? Emily gasped. Harper, startled, adjusted her dress. Mission failed, she muttered. Zane turned slowly, phone in hand, the screen still displaying the paused video recording. His face was unreadable. I thought you were different, he said quietly. I thought this, he motioned between them, meant something. Zane, you set me up. No. I wanted to stop it. I swear I tried. He handed her the phone. Happy birthday, Emily. Then he walked out. And just like that, every cupcake, every laugh, every slow dance turned to ash. Downstairs, the music played on. Guests clinked glasses. Don Anderson smiled, unaware. But upstairs, Emily stood frozen, alone, and shattered. She got what she wanted. The wedding was probably off. So why did it feel like she just lost everything? The next morning, the mansion was quiet. Too quiet. Emily sat on the edge of her bed, still in the same dress from the night before. Her makeup had smeared hours ago. The promise ring, once so special, lay cold on her nightstand. Downstairs, Don Anderson didn't say a word to her during breakfast. No good morning. No eye contact. Just the sound of a spoon stirring slowly in coffee. She had let everyone down. But the worst part? She missed Zane. Terribly. He hadn't come back after leaving the party. She didn't know where he went, or if he'd ever come back at all. And every second that passed felt heavier than the last. Later that night, she sat alone in her room, staring at her phone, fingers hovering over his name. Finally, she typed, "Can we talk?" No response. Until the next afternoon. A single message appeared, "Meet me where the sunset touched your face." 5 p.m. Her breath caught. The beach. She drove there without thinking. No makeup. No heels. Just jeans, a hoodie, and a storm of emotions. When she arrived, he was already there, standing in the sand, hands in his pockets, staring out at the waves like he was waiting for something more than just her. "Zane," she said softly, stepping closer. He turned, expression unreadable. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I just..." I panicked. I thought ending the wedding was the only way to stay in control. But somewhere in between, I fell for you. She paused, voice breaking. I love you. Zane stayed silent for a moment, then reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the promise ring. I don't know if I can trust you the way I did before, he said. But I know this, I don't want a life without you. He stepped forward. So if I asked you right now, no guests, no mansion, no pressure, would you marry me, Emily Cruz? Tears filled her eyes. Yes. 1,000 times, yes. He grinned. Then get in the car. What? I've got a dress in the back seat. Your size. We've got a pastor waiting, and I'm not risking you running off again. Laughing through her tears, Emily let him drag her to the car. Minutes later, she stepped into a small chapel by the cliffside. No flowers, no fancy aisle, just warm light, quiet music, and Zane, waiting at the altar with that look in his eyes. They said I do barefoot, laughing, crying, promising forever. A year later, they had a daughter, Sophie. And one lazy Sunday, Zane took Emily back to the beach where it all changed, their daughter running ahead, hair in the wind. Oh, he said casually, handing her a folder, I bought back your dad's old auto shop. Her jaw dropped. For real? Zane smiled. For real. It's yours again. Emily didn't say a word. She just hugged him tight and whispered, this is home. And now that Emily and Zane's story has reached its heartwarming ending, we want to hear from you. What did you feel while watching their journey? Was there a moment that made you smile, cry, or maybe even shout at the screen? We poured our hearts into telling this story, and we'd love to know what part touched yours the most. Drop a comment below and tell us, where are you watching from? Did you root for Emily and Zane from the start, or did they grow on you? Would you give love a second chance if it started as hate? Every comment matters, your thoughts, theories, and emotions make this channel come alive. And don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you won't miss the next romantic roller coaster we're bringing tomorrow. Your story might be next.